You've seen the habit videos. 5 a.m. wake up, cold plunge, journaling, splashing ice on your face, all the things. None of that makes you rich. The broke people that I know copy these motivational habits. The wealthy vets I know copy true financial habits. So here are the 8 habits that they copied and the financial mechanics behind why their net worth exploded. The first is that they stopped playing defense and they shifted to offense. Look, the military trains you to be defensive, but wealth requires you to go on the offense as well. You can't just play defensive. If you do, you'll lose. Service members are wired to preserve capital, avoid risk, stay safe. But wealthy vets ask, how do I increase my income? How do I cut $87 out of my expenses? How do I slash my expenses and save more to reinvest? I bought my first duplex when I had a negative net worth. I was broke. In fact, I had to sell a motorcycle that I had a Harley that got totaled, and I had to sell that between the insurance claim and selling the pieces back to Harley. I was able to buy my first property. That was the down payment for my closing costs and fees, right? Like that little amount. It was less than $4,000 all into the property, including paint. And people say, well, that was reckless. No. I mean, sure, there's risk associated with anything you do, but I was paying $600 a month, $550 a month, something like that, to live in a 2-bed, 1-bath apartment. And I bought this duplex. I was suddenly only out of pocket like $100, $110 a month to live in this duplex because my tenant paid the majority of the expenses. So I saved $440 a month off my expenses immediately to live in this property that I was building wealth in. And when I moved out of it, PCS 6 months later, it paid me $250 a month. That was $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year in extra income. That was after my property manager took over it, so I wasn't doing any work for that. Extra $3,000 a year. But that property, and I sold it 10 years later, it had doubled in value. So I made like $92,000 total off that initial $4,000 I put in because that was playing offense. Calculated. You have to pay to live somewhere. Why not live for free? So if you can simultaneously cut your cost of living and have income potential, that's a win. That moves the needle both ways because you got to think about life. You got income, you've got expenses. Most people think about how they can increase this, but then they simultaneously increase this. But if you can just like keep this level, now you've got a much bigger gap. Or even if you can, I had to flip my wrist, you can get it to decrease, and you're going to achieve that gap, that net worth, that financial freedom much faster. Audit your last 30 days. Figure out how much time did you spend cutting expenses? How much time did you spend working on additional income? How much of your money did you spend on places that you probably didn't need to? And shift 5 hours a week from defense to offense. Start playing. And yeah, just for clarity's sake, if you're only focused on saving and no other aspect of finance, you're playing a really slow game. The second point here is that they bought assets before they felt ready. Look, you're never going to feel ready. Like buying your first house, buying your first asset, putting money in the S&P 500, you're always going to what if, and there's always going to be some level of risk associated. You've got to have some hedge for that, but at the end of the day, $1 invested now is better than $1 invested tomorrow in every case. You can what if all you want, but it's the habit. Like sure, there could be one devastatingly bad piece of luck that comes out of that, but bar none, starting now is better than waiting 10 years. Even if you learn some hard lessons. Be intelligent, be tactical, be smart, be whatever. Read my book if you want safe guidelines, but start playing the game. Nobody feels ready to buy property, to buy a business, to build a business, to have your first investment, right? Analysis paralysis could equal 5 or 10 years that you lost. I talk to people all the time who just struggle bus. And they never took action, and now they're so far behind, and they kick themselves. When I bought my first deal, I had no clue what I was doing. I was nervous. I thought I'd screwed it up. I mean, it was one property that I was just like, I probably, from all outside perspectives, I probably had no business buying. And you know what? That one property changed the entire trajectory of my life. And now I'm in a really good financial situation. And I made mistakes along the way, tons of them, but I took the action and I learned through it. I could have easily listened to the people who told me not to buy the house yet, and then who knows where I'd be. Not here. Not yet. Time in the market compounds. Waiting is going to kill your growth. So figure out a strategy and get started. Here you go. From a tactical perspective on this, like if let's say buying a duplex or a house hack is your goal, like here's your week, right? Spend the 5 hours doing this. Define your buy box, meaning your price range, area, cash flow target, like your analytics you're trying to hit, your goals, your frame, like what you're looking for, right? And then run the analysis, basic numbers on 10 deals. Go look at them and submit an offer. And the offer doesn't have to be at asking price. If all of the properties want $300K and they only work at $280, offer $280 on all 10. Somebody might take it. or offer 260 at all 10, and then you might negotiate back up to 280, right? Like, don't necessarily give them your best offer right away, but you don't have to offer the asking price. You can lowball a little bit, make the deal work for you. The third thing these wealthy vets did is weaponize the VA loan. Now, this is my absolute favorite strategy. We've talked about it already, but house hacking with the VA loan. Buy a duplex, live in one side, rent the other. Buy a fourplex, live in one unit, rent the other three. VA loan allows you to get into real estate with no money down, so you can jump on it sooner rather than later. It is the best mortgage product in the entire world. Fast cars, but no cash? Not in our circle. You see, the War Room gives you the tools to dominate your finances. So if you want in, scan the code, click the link in the description. Look, broke people use the VA loan emotionally, like dream home, forever home. Oh my God, this house is so sexy. It's so beautiful. It's right at the top of what I could afford, but it's amazing. And that's not going to set you up for success long term. You should think about it as a future investment. Buy that fourplex that you don't necessarily love. That's not your dream home. This is to get you towards your dream home where it's not even a drop in the bucket to buy that thing. I've got entire trainings on house hacking with the VA loan. I'd encourage you to check them out. And I'll drop a link down below where you could even register for. I do a training every couple weeks on this, and I'll teach you for free the basics of how to do this in detail. This is, in my opinion, the single best way to get started in real estate. Now, on the tactical side here, stop asking if this is your forever home. Stop looking for your forever home. Start asking if this can produce income, if you can reuse the benefit, how to rinse and repeat, live for free, reinvest the difference, right? I know that it's uncomfortable. Like, this next one's uncomfortable, but most people aren't going to do it. But that's, again, what separates. Fourth habit here is getting in rooms that make them uncomfortable. You could be the biggest fish in the sea, or you could be the little fish in the big pond. One of those allows you to grow. One of them feeds your ego. Choose your poison, right? The successful people I know try to get in rooms where they are the idiot. They are the small fish. They are striving to improve their situation. Your environment can either accelerate or suffocate wealth. Broke vets are going to hang around complainers. They're going to talk about leadership, talk about politics, talk about how underpaid they are. When I say talk about leadership, I don't mean like being a leader. I mean whining about their leadership. Wealthy vets go to investor meetups, mastermind. They go to rooms where they feel dumb. They're not whining about things or their situation. They're trying to improve. They're taking back control. They're taking ownership of their situation. Like, first time I was in a serious investor room, I didn't understand half the conversation, but it forced growth. It provided questions. And if you're a genuinely decent human to these people, they want to help you. Proximity compresses your learning curve. The sooner you can get around people who are doing what you want to do, who have achieved what you want to achieve, the better you are going to grow. The faster you're going to grow. The more huge mistakes you're going to miss, which will make your journey easier. I made some pretty gnarly, expensive mistakes. I lost 30 grand in my first house flip. I got into a $250,000 lawsuit. Both of those things could have been avoided if I'd had a mentor to ask, or if I just asked the people that were close to me. So here's your tactical side for this one. Identify 3 people ahead of you. Reach out to them. Offer them lunch, whatever. Show up. Pay for proximity if needed, meaning you're probably going to need to pay for their time or make it worth their time. Nobody owes you anything. And you would be amazed, like I can tell you, case in point, I get asked 100 times a week for free advice, hold my hand, why don't you, do this all for free, blah, blah, blah. Like, the reality is I make 7 figures a year doing real estate. So if I'm making 6-7 figures a year doing real estate and it takes a ton of time, stopping to teach people is costing me money, costing me time, taking away my most valuable resource, and I want to help. But that's why I have all these free resources out there. Go read them, research them. Like, coming to me and saying, hey, I read these 3 things and I've got this very specific question is much different than, I did no homework, I looked at any of your resources, now I want help. So, like, make sure you're being a person worth investing to when you reach out to these folks. But get in those rooms, and if you want to book a call with our team to learn about our actual mastermind and how we help thousands of vets do this, hop on a call. That's not free. I mean, the call is free, but joining that group's not free, and it might not be for you yet. So go check out the free resources. But we've got an incredible community, but be willing to pay to get in those rooms. I have paid an exorbitant amount of money to get around coaches that move the needle for me, and it has been worth it in almost every situation. In fact, the people that complain about it not like being a scam are just the people who didn't do any of the work. Number 5, and this kind of ties in with that VA loan, but they turned their BAH into an investment engine, right? So you're getting basic allowance for housing while you're in, or if you're in school, use that, right? So instead of spending it all, or instead of living to that maximum amount, pocket as much of it as you can. If you can house hack and pocket it all or most of it to then reinvest, that's incredible, and that will set you up for success. But if you can't, don't go rent a $3,000 a month place when you have $3,000 a month in BAH. Or worse, I see people rent a $3,500 a month place when they get $3,000 in BAH. Go rent a $2,500 or a $2,000 a month place. Live below your means and then take the difference and don't spend it. Reinvest it. If you get $500 a month off your BAH, $6,000 a year, max out your IRA with that. That won't completely max it out, but it's pretty close. So don't spend all your money upgrading your comfort and blowing it, right? Like the wealthy vets are going to live below their BAH. They're going to rent rooms. They're going to capture the spread. They're going to reinvest the difference in whether the S&P 500 or index funds or real estate or whatever that is, but reinvest in your future. Even if you're not going to use your VA loan to house hack a duplex, triplex, fourplex, or to buy a house and rent out all the bedrooms, you could still rent a bedroom to somebody and pocket the difference, or 2 bedrooms to somebody and pocket the difference, or live in a place that's way below what your BAH is and pocket the difference, or use, if your spouse gets a job, save all of that money because you're living off your money. There are a lot of ways to skin this cat. The bottom line is the more that you can increase your savings gap to reinvest, the faster you'll achieve financial freedom. The sixth thing here is focusing on income first and optimization later. Now, I actually believe in doing both, not necessarily one first, but like the broke mindset is like, oh, I'll save $9 a month on Netflix. The wealthy mindset is like, hey, let me go get a side hustle and make $300 a month extra, or let me get promoted in the military and make $300 extra, or let me house hack and make $2,000 a month extra. That $300 goes a lot further than $9. But if you do both, now you're at $309. Like you can do both. And I like that. So cut your expenses, increase your income, reinvest as much of that as humanly possible, right? I didn't get financially free by skipping Starbucks, although I didn't like Starbucks much anyway. But I did it by scaling my real estate investing portfolio and my active income and then reinvesting that passively as it went. Look, your income scaling changes your financial trajectory. Expense cutting tweaks it a little bit, but not nearly as much. Now, they're both very important, and don't let expense creep sneak up on you. So look, if it's not going to generate you $10,000 a year, make it secondary. You can generate $10,000 a year doing extra stuff and then reinvest that. The seventh piece here is they built identity before results, right? So identity drives behavior. So you're not like, don't go around being like, oh, I'm trying to invest. Talk about like, I invest. I build, like, be nice to yourself. Talk nicely to yourself. Don't go to the gym and be like, oh, I'm a fat piece of, like if you sit around and call yourself a fat POS, that's not as good as like, hey, I'm a bodybuilder in training, or hey, I'm working on this, or hey, build that identity, right? So the moment I decided that I was an investor, I started finding deals a lot more often than when I was saying, I want to get into investing, right? So start looking for that opportunity. Train your prefrontal cortex, train your mind to look for opportunities. So write it out, IMO whatever, and then make decisions through that lens. What would that person do? And act as that person. Instead of, oh, I'm thinking about being that guy, be that guy. Put yourself there and then draw yourself to it. Number 8 is that they moved fast and they forgave themselves faster, right? Look, speed compounds. Tenants suck. Deals go sideways. Markets shift. Broke vets get burned once and then retreat. Wealthy vets conduct after actions reports, AARs. They adjust fire. They re-engage the enemy, right? You don't win a war if you just retreat right away when something goes wrong. You win a war by adapting and overcoming, right? Investing's the same way. You're going to take your licks. You're going to get knocked down. But then, what's the song? I get knocked down, but I get up again. Like, get back up. Keep swinging. Keep doing the thing. Whatever analogy you want here, don't quit. None of this is sexy. No cold plunges required. No 5 a.m. workup required. It's strategic leverage. It's controlled aggression. It's consistent asset stacking. It's being uncomfortable on purpose. It's slow, methodical, consistent action time and time again. You can do this. You absolutely have it in you to do this. You have to make the decision to do it. You have to take the steps. You have to take the action. You have to do the things. But you've got it. You can do this. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is no shade on the cold plunge and the 5 a.m. Like, I wake up early. I go to the gym. I like a cold plunge. I like a sauna. I like intermittent fasting. All those things help me in some ways. None of those things are why I've had success. They're disciplined actions to help me with my fitness, with my health, with my mental, with my whatever. Like, some of them I love, some of them I don't. Some of them I've tried and said nope, and some of them I do consistently, and it is what it is. But like, that's not what made you successful. Grind. Put in the work. Invest. Be intelligent with your finances. You've got this.